Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Unturned. This is going to be a basic survival guide. This first few videos are going to be very beginner-esque for those who have never touched the game before. Just give you a heads up on how to play, give you some basics and some fundamentals to work on. This map is going to be a single-player map. The multiplayer tends to be a lot more fun eventually, but to get your feet on the ground and to learn the game systems and get a feel for how everything works, the single player is a great place to start. I'm using a custom map called Overgrown 3. I recommend it. It's a lot of fun. And I have a couple of modifiers. We'll go over how to install custom maps and mods and modify your maps to change different stats and so forth later on. But for now, let's get started. So the first thing I want you to notice, it's fairly typical for a survival game. You've probably seen it before, but in the lower left-hand corner of the screen there, you'll notice that you have your different survival bars to let you know what you need and what you don't need to keep going in the game. The first bar, obviously the red bar with a plus sign, universal health sign, is your health bar. The next bar is your food bar, which is food, knife and fork. It's pretty self-explanatory. Every time you eat, it goes up. If you don't eat, it goes down. You can see mine's already down to 97%, as well as the water bar beneath it. Hydration bar, I should say. Any liquid will fill that up. Beneath that, you have the toxicity bar. You get that either from eating spoiled food or wandering into an area that's irradiated or by getting hit by zombies. The fourth bar there is your energy bar. You deplete that by running and jumping. You can see every time I jump, it goes down by 10% right now because there's no talents in it. We'll go over the talents in just a second. And the final bar is your oxygen bar. So, you go underwater, you need oxygen, obviously, pretty reasonable. And it goes down as you stay underwater for longer and fills back up when you hit the surface. So, the beginning of the game is the most stressful part, as in most survival games. You don't have any weapon to start off with. So what you need to do is kind of sneak around. I suggest you find a town. Now, the game spawned me right next to a town, which is pretty fortunate. You won't always be spawned in front of a town. It's a random location on the map. So you might end up someplace else. Who knows? But for this particular instance, I'm spawned right in the middle of a town, which will be nice for the sake of brevity as far as this video goes. By default, the keybinds for prone are Z. You can see that puts me all the way down on the ground, and I just kind of slowly shuffle forward and backward here, side to side. And the default for crouch is X. So you're kind of sneaky, but not as sneaky as you are prone. Now, as a beginner to the game, especially if you haven't played this type of game before, and you're not that familiar with sneak mechanics, I recommend that you stay in the prone position as you're going through town to begin with until you get some weapons and maybe some better armor. But the armor doesn't matter that much. The armor doesn't make a whole lot of difference as far as the beginning, and especially against normal zombies. And we'll talk about the different types of zombies in a future video. But for now, you'll see I'm in a garage here, and that's a zombie right there. I really don't want to walk into him. The garage doesn't really have anything that I see that I want to begin with here. Just some clothes. So I'm going to move on. Now, it's pretty important at the beginning of the game, and this varies depending on the server settings that you have or game settings if you're playing single player. But you can see that my health and water have gone down 10% just since we started the video. So it's important to try to find yourself some water and food like right away. Liquid and food, once again, I should say, because you're going to need it. You also want to avoid fighting with zombies at all until you get a weapon. I'm pretty sure I've talked about that before, but there's multiple reasons for that in the beginning of the game. Even after you have like a melee weapon, it's not always best to engage in with the zombies right away, because that toxicity that we talked about, if you don't have anything to reduce the toxicity and it gets down to, I believe, 50%, it starts going down by itself very quickly. So you need to find medicine or you die. There's no zombies in here, which is pretty nice. And there is a hockey stick, which is even nicer. So now I have a weapon. Since there's no zombies in here, I'm going to come up in a crouch, pick up some bottled water. A kitchen knife. I don't care much for the kitchen knife. Red poncho, that's exciting. I don't much care for the kitchen knife as a weapon. If you don't have anything else, obviously, it's fine. But I don't much care for it because the range on it isn't very good, and especially in the beginning, as I said, you don't want to get close to zombies. So it's something that you want to use as kind of a last resort, in my opinion. Now, everybody has a different opinion about what type of weapon they like the best, and some of them are statistically better than others. The kitchen knife will kill zombies if you stab them in the head, but it's not necessarily the most efficient way to do it, if that makes sense. Potato. Alright, so I've picked up some stuff. We're going to quickly go over the inventory. I want to give you an idea of how this works here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Y first. That's going to bring up your crafting menu. You'll see that across the top it gives you access to your inventory, your crafting, your skills, and your map or information once you pick up a map, if there are maps enabled on your thing there. I'm going to go ahead and dismantle the hammer and the rake because I don't plan on using either one of those as a weapon at this point in time. We'll go into more detail in the crafting later on. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can figure it out yourself by going through these menus here. But what I wanted to show you is the inventory. And you'll notice that the inventory has limited space, which is fair. I'm going to equip this civilian vest here. So you see that, what I wanted to show you in the inventory, sorry. The food and water, you'll notice it has percentage next to it. That's how bad it's gotten, or if you want to say how irradiated it's gotten in the course of liquids or water, because obviously water doesn't really go bad. I mean, it gets stale. I guess it could go bad, but the point is it takes a long time for water to go bad. So what you're looking at here is actually increased toxicity, and once again at 45% I'm going to gain a little bit of toxicity when I drink it, and I'm going to go ahead and do that just to show you. Well, we'll see. At 45% I should gain a little bit. Yeah, you see the green bar went down 2%. That means that I've gained 2% toxicity. And that will never come back unless I take something that reduces toxicity. So it's something that you want to be aware of. And I'm not even going to touch the potato that I picked up because that's only at 19%. So what I'm going to do instead is right-click on it and craft seed. That's a seed that I can plant later on when I find some place that I want to call a home base, or at least a temporary base, to grow food. And all the food that you grow from seeds comes out at 100%, so you can keep it for a long time, and it doesn't give you any toxicity when you eat it. Alright, so we're not worried about any of the rest of this crafting stuff. Let's go ahead and leave this menu. I'm going to hit 2. 1 is your first slot, 2 is your second slot as far as weapons go, just like anything else in any other first-person shooter, I should say. And I am going to continue exploring this apartment building because I know from experience that the apartment buildings tend to have food and water in them. So let's mosey up here. See who's in here. Anybody? No? Good. Looks like a hat. Oh, rope. Okay. Another hammer. Now, inventory space becomes a little bit more important later on. Well, it's important now if I pick up a whole bunch of big stuff, but 100% lettuce, that's fantastic. So lettuce, most vegetables actually give you both water and food. So I'm going to save that until my water goes down a little bit. Don't see anything in there. All right. There's a flashlight. Might come in handy later. So you'll notice I'm not prone now because I've looked and didn't see any zombies that will give me immediate trouble. However, I still don't want to be too loud because if you just go tromping around, eventually the zombies above or below you can hear you, and you don't want that to happen. Although now, with a hockey stick, it'll be a little bit easier for me to deal with them if they do see me. Alright, no zombies so far in this building. That's pretty handy. Some wheat. And a hammer. See a carrot on the table here. Now you see why I suggested, well, I guess you haven't seen a comparison yet, but the reason why I mentioned going to a city first is because you find domiciles like this. If not a big apartment building like I've found here, you can find individual houses. You can even, there's grocery stores in this town, as a matter of fact, there's a grocery store. All right, let's go ahead and break down some stuff here. I recommend, especially in the beginning, other than finding a good, other than finding a backpack if you can, and preferably an overtop that has a decent amount of space in it, you can look up the differences. I'll probably go over those a little bit. I'll go over gear and crafting in the next video, so we won't worry about that right now. But my point is, as you pick stuff up, it's a good idea to just go ahead and salvage it in the beginning, because you're going to need all these parts eventually. They don't stack, which kind of stinks, but it is what it is. I salvage the hammer. Salvage this other hammer here. One more hammer. I didn't realize I had so many of them. And the rake. Alright. Orange hoodie. Trouser shorts. Alright, I'm going to salvage the fishing bottom. It's going to give me some cloth. As I said, I'm going to go over crafting in detail a little bit later on, but the cloth is very useful. The reason why I'm picking up all these clothes, the cloth is very useful for making bandages, and the bandages eventually get upgraded into higher healing items, and those are going to be very useful. Like I said, we'll go over crafting and so forth in the next video here, but for now, let's sneak just a little bit further here. %53% grape juice. Alright, my hydration's gone down a little bit and my food's still going down, so keep hitting I. I'm gonna eat the lettuce. Gets me up to 85% food and 100% water, as you can see there. Alright, so now we're on the roof. I don't hear any zombies up here. I haven't found a lot of very useful stuff on the roof. I guess theoretically it's possible that something will spawn up here that you want, but as you can see, it's pretty empty. So we're going to pop back downstairs. The reason why I'm stealthing here, even though I know there are no zombies in the building, is because it's possible the ones outside will hear me stomping around, and I really don't want to get attacked by like a police officer, like the guy right there. So we're going to sneak on around here. Go over into this next building here. Alright, I probably shouldn't even have picked up that bread because it's really no use to me at 22%. That would be a lot of toxicity I'd be taking for no reason. But all the vegetables, I'm going to turn those into seeds, so those are pretty handy. Alright, granola bar, very good. Potato. Now I hear a zombie. I'm not sure if he's in the building or outside the building. I'm not sure if it's just my setup with my headset or if the dynamic sound in the game isn't fantastic, but I have trouble pinpointing where the zombies are judged by the sounds that they have. So something to be aware of. You want to kind of get an eye on the zombie that you hear before you assume that it's not in the direction that you're going. Another hockey stick. There's a fedora. I don't really want to wear a fedora. I'm not that guy. Did I miss stairs up? Maybe not. It's a nice house though. Nice big open floor plan. I like it. Alright, let's pop out of here. I came in through the window there. Alright. Now, inevitably, you are going to upset a zombie. It's part of the game. You're going to seek them out eventually. So take a look. If you sneak up behind them, club them in the head. It takes them a while to turn around if you sneak up behind them and give them a good headshot. So something to keep in mind, and it's also going to help you build experience, which is a good thing. I recommend, if you can, try to sneak into a firehouse, which I will do eventually, because they almost always have axes in them. And the axes are going to help you with chopping down trees, which is going to help you with crafting, which once again we'll cover in the next video. But that's pretty much all there is for the beginning of Unturned. As I said, make sure that you sneak, keep an eye on your bars, your food, and your water. Your toxicity is going to go up if you eat spoiled food, so don't do that. Don't get hit by zombies if you can help it. Z is prone, C is crouch, and that should get you started. And once you're there, just keep an eye on the zombies as you go around corners, sneak around, and destroy stuff, salvage stuff to keep inventory space open, and you'll be set to go. As I said, in the next video, we'll go over crafting and get into some more detail on the things that you're picking up and what you're going to do with them, which items are better and which items aren't, etc., etc. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy this game. It's a lot of fun, and I will see you in the next video.